Hey guys, welcome back to another Deep Woods RC video. Today we are upgrading another truck in the fleet that you guys have not seen yet, and you will shortly. It's finally getting a brushless upgrade, thanks to Hobbywing. We're going to be testing out the new 3530 Outrunner brushless with the new WP10BL80 Crawler ESC. It's really interesting to me that this works for brushed and brushless, and I'm really curious to see how this combo performs. I've heard some really good things so far. However, it is a really new product from Hobbywing, quite recent. You can pick these up for a reasonable price. I paid around 115 Canadian for both of these together. They come as a 2-in-1 kit. As an option, you can buy them separately, but of course, since I'm going with the Outrunner, I wanted the new ESC to go with it and just stick to what Hobbywing recommends. So we're going to go ahead and get into these real quick. The main difference between a brushless and a brushed setup is you're going to have a lot more down-low control with the torque. It's not going to be so jittery. They are a lot smoother on takeoff and just the fine throttle control. And since we do a lot of trail riding and crawling, we need the advantages that the brushless brings. You can get it really dialed in with a brushed motor. I do have one in it now, and I was quite blown away once you do tune it with a Hobbywing card and go over all the settings. But you also have the benefit of the brushless motors make virtually no noise, which is awesome. So I'm going to put the motor aside. We'll keep that for the second part of this. We're going to go and have a look at that ESC, and it looks really clean. I love the gold pin set with the red aluminum case on the top. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. There we go. Okay, so we do have an owner's manual, quick setup guide for the ESC in the box. I'll go over that by myself in a few minutes. Of course, I'll have to find my tuning card and go over the settings. We have some really cool Hobbywing graphics in the box. That pink is pretty cool. That might be going on some of the trucks. We have some of the smaller ones as well down there. Those will be really handy to go in some windshields and stuff. Always love getting stickers with a new product. It's awesome. So it looks like we have a couple screws in here. I don't think those are going to be for the mount. I have a feeling they're going to be for the fan that they've provided. They provide us a little heating, well, cooling fan. But honestly, I don't know how hot these brushed and brushless ESC combos get, because it looks like it is for the ESC, fits right on top of there, because there's going to be no room and no point to putting a fan on a brushless motor. But that does look like a nice little fan from Hobbywing. It's not just a random fan they've added into the kit, it is one of their own products. I'm not sure if we'll be running this, but it's really cool to have the option. It's nice of them to include that. Especially some of the guys down south that do some hotter areas. They're going to need maybe that extra bit of cooling power. So, here's the ESC itself. So we've got it there. With the red aluminum top, the gold pins. As you can see, waterproof right there. Everything's nice and labeled A, B, C with the positive and the negative in the ground for the tuning wire. I'll have to see how come we have two of these of the flat 3 pins. I'm assuming one of them's going out for maybe direct power. One of them will be the motor for sure. I'm not sure what this other one is. We'll have to have a look at that. But yeah, that's a really nice piece of kit. So, I'm going to pop that back in the box with the screws and the fan just so I don't lose it. I've just remembered what that secondary yellow wire is for. It's for a separate channel for the drag brake from the ESC, so you can control and tune your drag brake on the fly with your remote if you have a wheel on the side of your remote, which I do have on my radio link on my RC4GS. So I'll see if I can't get that working, because a on-the-fly drag brake would be rather cool to have. So I'm going to go and get this out, because you can't see much in the box. We have another real quick user manual in there. It is a sensorless, brushless motor, if any of you were wondering. So there's not much in this box, but we do have the outrunner itself with the 3 cables. I like that there's a decent length on these. The only thing I have been told is that this is kind of a pain sometimes, depending what truck it's going in, because you can't bend these wires around, so they have to stay sticking out straight. So we might have to just play with the rotation of the motor here. But as you can see, the difference between a normal runner and an outrunner is that exterior cage is actually what rotates instead of the interior rotating. And it is very smooth. It is the 2200 kV. I didn't want to go with the lower one because I do want to keep it semi trail truck, also rock crawler, but you guys will see that in just a minute. I'm gonna go get it out, put this all aside. I do already have the motor out of the truck, so we won't have to go over pulling it out and doing the casing. I think that's pretty well known procedure at this point, so we're gonna skip over all of that and cut straight to time lapse of the install real quick. So I'm gonna go get the truck, be back in a second. We'll do a quick overview of it before we get into the motor. Like I said, it's a truck that hasn't really been featured on the channel yet, but hopefully this summer we'll get a whole lot more of attention because it is such a fun truck to drive around and it performs really well. So we'll get to that in just a second. So here's the truck. It's an SCX 10-1 originally. So front, rear axles, the top links and the bottom links are all SCX 10 original. The body's the Proline Power Wagon, just the cab, so it is shut off at the back. And it has a Vader skid plate for the Capra and the Gspeed builds. It is on a Gspeed stainless frame with Desert Lizard shocks, Hyrax Proline tires, 3D printed bed sand rails just for the looks. It does have a brand new Axial SXC10-2 transmission in it because the first one started making noise. It had stripped out casing screws down here for the mounts, so it just needed replacing, a little refresh, but that's what happens with these older trucks. It has the radio link receiver in the receiver box, and it also has the Injora 110, I think they're the M4 Rocklight kits, and all 4 corners, which are amazing for the $20 price point on Amazon. If you need rock lights and you have a frame with just the holes that aren't the TRX4 slot style, highly recommend these rock lights. They're super bright, 3 modes. You can get them with the button controller, and you can also bind them to a spare channel on your remote and wirelessly control them. The roof rack on this is just a 3D printed rack that I had printed out and put on, mostly just for a little more rigidity up top, and if I do roll it, something to protect the shell a little more. But most of this stuff, AliExpress, even the Proline body, it's a real Proline. AliExpress had on sale. They have good prices. If you're willing to wait a couple weeks maybe for the shipping, absolutely go for it. So we're going to go ahead and start mounting the motor up. As I said, I'd already got the Holmes Hobby 35 turn trail crawler out, and we're going to go ahead and throw in the hobbywing and switch out the ESC, which sits here. It's going to need a new layer of double-sided tape. That's just how I get them to hold on. And these sliders are also 3D printed, nothing fancy. Like I said, if you've got a 3D printer, it's a lot of help for all the accessories. The sliders, I even have a spare skid plate printed out. The sand rail recovery sliders were also 3D printed. The bed's 3D printed, and all of these files are available online. The bed did take some modifying because my frame's slightly larger than it should be, but other than that, you can get away with making almost anything for these trucks if you've got a 3D printer and a little bit of time and ingenuity with you. So I'm going to go ahead and start the install, throw on a time lapse, and we'll review it when we're done, because I do have the batteries charged and ready to go, and it is on XT60 connectors, as most hobbywing electronics are. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so I had to cut that time lapse a little bit short. I was having some trouble figuring out where the wires go to the ESC. I didn't look properly on the back of the motor, on the front side where it mounts into the spur gear on the transmission mount. It is labeled ABC, which is also written here on the ESC itself, so you can match the wires because the wires aren't labeled. So just keep in mind if you're heading for an install, just double check the wiring, because I did not see it in any of the instructions. If not, real quick video, look up and you'll find it. As it turns out, someone's already gone over and told us which wires go where, which is really helpful. So we've got the ESC mounted on the side, the power button, the motor's in. I do have a battery hooked up and it is binded through to my radio link, the RC4GS. Love this controller, honestly. Great options on it. Enough channels to run whatever you need. So let's go ahead and fire it up. And this is what I was saying by those rock lights. They're binded to my D switch, and they have a strobe mode, a smooth strobe, and they have a really aggressive high strobe, or you can just have them on. So straight from my remote I can control my lights, which I love. I do have some little wiring cleanup left to do. In here it is a bit of a rat's nest, but that's fine. We'll get to that another day. So the other really cool option is in the receiver box. When you go to plug into the receiver, that drag brake wire I was talking about goes into the resistance plug. So not the positive, not the negative. It'll go into the other one. You can put that in any channel you want as long as you have something to control it. What's cool is on the RC4GS, we have a little knob here that we can rotate. So I've binded that to what's called the VR knob on the radio link controller here. And that allows me to control the drag brake. As you can see right now, it is completely disabled. But if I go ahead and turn this all the way up, it is very, very hard to push. And that is most definitely going to hold the truck on a very steep incline. And then I can gradually go ahead and roll it down. As you can see, I'll push on it, and I'll try with this hand just to turn that knob down, and eventually it'll pop itself. There we go. It does take a second. You might have to rock it just to get it to go. But as you can see, if I turn it up, there we go, it's locked. Get it going again, and lock it all the way up. And that was constant pressure on the back just to show you the drag brake. But you're all here to see the motor. You want to know how it works. New product. We want to see if it's any good. I think it's worth every penny to put this combo in your truck. And here it is. It is very, very slow on the start, which is amazing. It has great throttle control, and that's in reverse. It certainly is no slouch, as I discovered. I plugged the wire into the wrong port on my receiver, and it went full speed that way, and knocked a bunch of things down, the camera included, and all good fun. So I reset the controller, and then just went from scratch with the plugging the ESC back into the receiver and getting it running. Now it works flawlessly. So we'll test it in the forward speed as well. And it takes up the slack and just barely moves this truck forward at a very slow speed. I mean, it's a little jittery, but that's just the SCX-10 transmission and the slack in the differentials and the axle ends and the universal joints. But I'm very impressed with it so far. It has got some nice smooth crawling, and it does have a nice bit of get up as well to it. I would go through the options for the tuning on the tuning card. Sadly, I do not have the appropriate tuning card for it. It's not quite working, it's not picking up the settings properly, so I'll have to look at getting a program card and then maybe go over with you guys what the different options mean and what everything does. Just checking to see how warm this gets. These wires seem a little bit warm, but nothing worrying. Definitely within the normal temperature range, I'd say. So that is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and end that here for today. I've gone over it. Like I said, well worth it if you're looking for a brushless setup, especially something short, outrunner wise. I'd definitely go pick up one of these hobby wings and test it out for yourself. You will not be disappointed in the performance this thing offers. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this battery out. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so the only thing missing on this truck now is going to be a new steering servo up front, because it's not quite cutting anymore. I want to upgrade it to a 50 kilogram 9i mod like the other trucks that you guys saw the other week, and throw that in there, and then this build will be pretty much done. Maybe some few add-ons here and there in the future, and you will definitely see more footage of it out and about in the summer, which I am super excited to try out, especially with this new combo being installed. And I think Hobbywing did an amazing job with this motor and this ESC. They work really, really well together. And I'm super excited for the summer, like I said, to go and test this out on the rocks and get some really cool lines going and just take advantage of that low speed, high torque, and just really see how it performs. And that's pretty much everything there is to it. It's a very bare bones truck, nothing too fancy. So thanks for sticking around, watching today's video. I'm going to go ahead and put this up and start on my next project. And until next time, have fun, stay safe, keep RCing.